So, yes, we are recording. I will start the little intro. You are the core developer of Ergo platform, and you have been active in blockchain development and smart contracts since 2011. In 2014, you were a core developer for NXT, and you started smartcontract.com, which is now Chainlink, with Sergey Nazarov. When you were working on NXT, you started the simple blockchain framework Scorex, which was later pivoted into a modular blockchain framework. This project got attention from Charles Hoskinson around autumn 2015. Then you joined Input-Output Hong Kong around January 2016. And now you're a researcher in Input-Output Hong Kong with over 20 academic papers to your name. So you are a developer and also a teacher and researcher. So you are very tied deeply in the blockchain space.
Yeah. Thanks for the introduction.
Okay.
So just a quick note. So back in 2011, I wasn't a smart contract developer. So I just did study Bitcoin internals from that time. And back in 2011, so there was no notion of smart contracting, right? So we started to think, cryptocurrency community about stuff leading to smart contracts from 2013. So initially it was about colored coins, name coin, and now forgotten, right? Name system. On top of a blockchain, so Bitcoin with a name system. And so initially we discussed just very simple things like how to do trustless exchange on top of something like Bitcoin back in 2013. Right, so a notion of smart contracts appeared around 2013-14. And initially it was mind-blowing even to think about such stuff as algorithmic emission of a currency, right? Money without a central bank and so on. So now that excitement is forgotten almost. But initially it was mind-blowing even to think about it.
Yeah, it's kind of a magic you're doing here, like creating a money, setting different standards. And
especially when money do appear as a result of some computer protocol, right? That's still a very magic thing, I guess.
I believe so. And most of the world still don't get it, how it's working and how will it evolve in the future. It's only 10 years and it's all over the world now. It's pretty shocking, actually, I think.
Actually, there are a lot of things to think about here. Developers are writing some code, and as a result, you get money, which is a social construct, right? So somehow you have a bridge somewhere, right, between the world of computers, right, which are just executing codes, and money. Money, is a kind of self-fulfilling social idea, right? So somehow you get the latter out of the former. And that's the very magic thing. And we can discuss different aspects of that for many hours, but still the whole thing is truly magic.
It's the comments about financial system and how it's changing and where it came from. It's maybe could be another subject, long subject. Can dive in. But let's continue with our interview in Ergo and blockchain. So you have an impressive history in the blockchain space. You have dedicated much of your career to blockchain development. And by the time you retire, what would you like to have accomplished? What do you see as the primary challenges to achieve your long-term vision? So why are you here? Basically.
All right. Still, I'm willing to see some real adoption. When I entered the space, it was Bitcoin Foundation Twitter back in February 2011. People did believe at the time that very soon central banks will become obsolete with the quick rise of cryptocurrencies and so on. But still, adoption is not as wide as the community did want 10 years ago, right? And still a lot of things to do towards real adoption and use cases which are convincing and exciting for an average Joe, right? So, even to find a couple of such use cases and work on them, I think is already good for retirement.
Yeah, it's because blockchain is not only about finance, and it will cover a lot of aspects in the life. Like it's very broad term to implement blockchain. I mean, document identification and in Internet of Things like supply chains and maybe cloud storage services, decentralized computing services. It has a lot of way to go.
Right. But still, I think, monetary components would be needed right here, at least to reward for activities, right, in this blockchain space, right? So a blockchain usually is very inefficient, right, as a database.
Yeah,
or as a consensus protocol, then usually you need to reward for this inefficiency, right? And also you need to find a reason why this inefficiency would be needed, right? So usually it's about some pretty extreme cases, right? It's not about distribution of some ordinary content. It's about some story which is financially attractive, right? So to fill the gaps with inefficient database, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Is it clear? I mean, public blockchain is when hundreds of computers to run the same copy of database, basically, right? Coming into agreement on its contents. Then, it's so inefficient. Then,
running on a certain.
And to reward for that, you also need for use cases which are allowing for this high reward in the name of decentralization and so on, right?
Yes. So, okay. So we are trying to build a new new incentivizing mechanisms for actors to join the space, continue developing and building. Am I correct? Am I get it correctly?
Yeah, and
to overcome the inefficiencies.
There are different ways to make blockchain systems more efficient, right? Basically, to allow more transactions. Or to write more information using the same number of bytes, basically. Right, and also.
But like you said, like Elon Musk also said, maybe increasing the block limits and decreasing block time. So technically, blockchain can also be centralized to make it more efficient, but it's not derived from there. its ambitions was not better something, but more decentral community, more equal power.
But why do you need for centralized blockchain, right? Then, so you can replace it with just some database, trusted database, and it would be much more efficient. Right. So then, yeah, I believe that only public blockchain makes sense. Right. Well, at least in most cases, private blockchain is not needed and can be replaced with just a centralized database. If we are going for public blockchain, then we have some financial component there, right, to reward participants, at least.
Yes. Cool, thanks. Good. Why did you stop working with other projects and went into building Ergo? What were your ambitions? And why didn't you stand with your former projects?
All right. So, initially, the idea was to implement some good ideas, right, from papers which do sound together. Because back then there were not so much innovative cryptocurrencies, right. These days, the situation is much better, but back then, so usually it was about Bitcoin clones, Ethereum. NXT was done from scratch, but yeah, it has a lot of controversial design choice. Actually, we had BitShares back in 2015, and yeah. That's it, probably. And Ethereum is also about a lot of controversial design ideas implemented, actually. Yeah. So still, and back then it was obvious. To me, at least. All right. So, the idea was to implement some ideas which together are leading to a scalable blockchain. Then somehow we got also transactional model and languages, so Ergo 3 and Ergo Script, which are, I believe, still very innovative in regards how to do contracts on the blockchain with enforcing as much logic as possible to be off-chain and so on. Right, so, these days, for example, Ethereum community is hunting for roll-up solutions and so on, but Ergo is already enforcing you to do similar things, right? And it was there since day one. No need for painful transformation as in the Ethereum case, and so on. I believe that somehow we got a very good mix of different design choices, and I'm very convinced that Ergo blockchain is highly competitive in the space, and what else? Also, we published a lot of results on the way, right? So then I'm pretty much sure that's not about my personal fantasies, right? And that was the goal since 2015 also, because there were many developers with different ideas, but most of them are actually nonsense, right? And I also had a lot of bad ideas. It's pretty simple thing, right? So to get into some exciting stuff, exciting from the first look, which then turns out to be complete nonsense or impractical stuff and so on. Right. In Ergo, we try to avoid that by publishing results and also talking with people from industry, getting their feedback, and so on. So yeah, I think in results we have a highly competitive solution for many problems in the space.
Okay, nice. Do you have something in mind that if you had the chance, you would do something different in the beginning of Ergo, or are you satisfied with the current start and development?
Oh, you mean since day one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would make proof of work function a bit different, right? So we started with non-outsourceable
Yeah.
proof of work Autolycos, then switched to Autolycos
Version 2.
2.0, yeah, without non-outsourceability. And actually, it makes sense, I guess, to start with outsourceable proof of work and then switch to non-outsourceable version, right? And yeah, to consider memory hardness in a different way than we did initially, right? Because it was not so good option also, right? So we fixed memory hardness in version 2, and yeah, it would be better to start with outsourceable version 2, right? With talking more with real miners, and then to switch to non-outsourceable proof of work a few years after, maybe via soft fork, right? By allowing that in the protocol. And so on. Still, there are some things which are not ideal, right? But yeah, now hopefully we can update the protocol in non-breaking way with soft forks, just or even velvet forks.
Cool. And so, thank you. Ergo Foundation recently published the Ergo Manifesto. It seems like you grounded yourself with an altruistic approach. How do you see the current ecosystem after Bitcoin forks in countless Bitcoin forks in 2018, and now there's application smart contract forks? So our cryptocurrency is losing their initial proposition made by Nakamoto. Can you elaborate on your views that you mentioned in the Ergo Manifesto, like about, as you mentioned, you defending the public blockchain, not the blockchain as a tool for the institutions?
All right. Yeah. So actually, we had few waves of attacks against the initial proposition, right? Starting with blockchain, not Bitcoin, and so on. And currently, the state of the space is truly sad. Yeah, we have a lot of greedy opinion leaders selling complete crap to public, and yeah, getting good coverage because they also own media, right? So paying for being there, and yeah, well, I mean, I can criticize the current state of things for many hours because, actually, it's simpler to say what's good now, right? So aside of few communities, mostly around private coins, Bitcoin maximalists, which are insane about the maximalism, but at least trying to save initial proposition, right, in some form, maybe. Right, and yeah, also partly Cardano community, and yeah, just a small part of Ethereum community. Right, so aside of those circles, the initial proposition is mainly lost. Right, and it's the question what the initial proposition was about, even, right? So, for example, I don't think that Nakamoto thought about Bitcoin as digital gold. Well, actually, he thought, but that wasn't so strict requirements, right? Maybe in regards with Bitcoin. So he thought about digital marketplace like eBay to be embedded into the Bitcoin and so on. So hard to say how precise was the position of Nakamoto, right?
Mm.
And how much was brought after, right, by the Bitcoin community back in 2012, 2014. Right, so what we do know is the initial proposition was actually formulated and set in stone after Nakamoto.
Yeah, but
Right. So so still there is some notion of initial proposition, right? So even if it's not Nakamoto, then we still more or less know what is this about, right?
yes. So you say that the developers after came from Nakamoto built this idea of decentralized finance system. It was not Nakamoto.
They did provide some kind of ideology, right? Which Nakamoto didn't give right explicitly, but implicitly you can read this maybe in Nakamoto words, right? But you can read a lot, right, implicitly if you want to. Right, and then so explicitly the original vision was formulated after the Nakamoto, by followers.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, it's more or less like Jesus Christ, right? So yeah, most of ideas was formulated
After.
after.
So yeah, the legend lives on, but it changed a lot. So you don't know, it's the same legend.
Yeah. And so the anti-fork attitude, for example, so it wasn't there, I guess, and was brought after Nakamoto, and the same is about original vision. But maybe so that was Nakamoto who brought such followers, right? Who attracted such followers, which did formulate the original vision. So hard to say. But after all, we know what is this about, and unfortunately, this original vision is now mostly lost around the whole cryptocurrency space.
Populism, it's eventually changed. Thanks. So let's talk about some technical issues. So why did you choose to build on the UTXO model? When Ethereum gained attraction, why did you choose to stand in an unpopular approach to smart contracts? Ethereum chose accounts model. So wouldn't it be easier to focus on where the hype is for the increased collaboration and a wider user base? Because there is not much UTXO model-based cryptocurrencies, at least not very popular. Maybe some little like old coins like Digibyte, etc. But mostly the recent coins follow the Ethereum accounts model, as I know. But you stay with the UTXO. Can you explain a little bit?
All right. So I did work for NXT, which was an accounts model as well before Ethereum even. Right. So it wasn't the first account based cryptocurrency, I guess. So the first was BitShares maybe, but yeah, NXT appeared just about the same time. Okay, actually, because of that, because of working for account-based cryptocurrency, so I got some experience, which did show that. Actually, for scalability solutions, it's not the best choice, right? So for UTXO model, it's easier to do certain things such as off-chain protocols, right? Because there are just two states you have on-chain, right? So whether output is spent or not. Right, in case of account, there are more options, so solutions are more tricky then. And for scalability solutions, usually UTXO model is more friendly. For example, we have a paper called EDRA on scalability solution on stateless clients, namely. For both UTXO and account model, right, in early drafts at least. And yeah, UTXO solution is much simpler in this paper, right? And also you can parallelize transactions processing more easily with UTXOs, which is not used still in Ergo, but yeah, potentially it will be used. And yeah, it gives you a boost in TPS, right? Because well, our CPUs are going to have more and more cores with time, right? And you can parallelize transactions processing easily with UTXOs. And then, yeah, you can have much faster blocks processing also. And so on, so on. So, yeah, UTXO is simpler and better in regards with many aspects. Also, yeah, it's not so good, maybe also in certain use cases, accounts model can be simpler and, yeah, more clear, right? But yeah, so you need to choose, right? What are you aiming for? And as Ergo was built with scalability in mind, right? Then yeah, it's on UTXOs. And then yeah, we did solve problems coming with UTXOs. So if you are going with accounts, then you need to solve different problems, right? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So the UTXO model gives parallelized actions, so it's boosting the scalability a lot than accounts. But accounts is also has more functional compared to UTXO. Can we say that? Because I think, as I read, UTXO has a lot. It's a lot harder to implement complex functions.
Not necessarily. So actually, you can do very complex things in UTXOs, and sometimes it's hard to translate. Maybe it's to count in straightforward way. But yeah, usually for smart contracts developer account model can be easier to get into quick, right? But yeah, at the same time, then you are getting problems like Ethereum guys have, right? When a lot of smart contract developers do have some contracts implemented quickly with a lot of bugs and so on, right? And also the whole blockchain then is having the huge problem a set of problems in regards with scalability, right? And then you need to solve it. And then many solutions proposed for Ethereum are basically about mimicking the UTXO model, right? Simple solutions are not so simple in this space often.